I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
murdering, day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on the camera.
It was worth it.
And we had sex a lot today.
These teenagers found it okay to annihilate their families so they could have sex. Then, they bragged about it online. They claimed it was all to be together. But once they got locked up, they started ratting out on each other for a lighter sentence. So much for true love. These 3 cases will make your blood boil. Halth and Aaron Guerrero. Picture this. You're scrolling through someone's Instagram, and you see tons of happy father-daughter photos. They're hiking together, making silly faces at the camera, and sharing what looks like the perfect family bond. Now imagine that same daughter s***ing her father 70 times, just months later. This isn't a movie plot. This is the real story of Halth and her father, Daniel. Daniel Halth wasn't your typical dad. A former musician turned entrepreneur, he'd built himself quite a following on social media. 20,000 followers who loved his daily motivation posts and travel vlogs. But more than anything else, Daniel was known for one thing, being completely devoted to his kids, especially his youngest daughter, Sierra. Despite going through a rough divorce with Sierra's mom, Elizabeth, Daniel had managed to maintain an incredibly close relationship with Sierra. She lived with him full-time, and their social media was full of evidence of their tight bond. They'd spend hours making goofy dance videos together, going on adventures, and just hanging out. Daniel would constantly post about how blessed he was to have Sierra in his life. But everything changed in June 2020, when 15-year-old Sierra met Aaron Guerrero. Their relationship was intense from the start. We're not talking about normal teen romance here. This was full-on obsession. Within weeks, they were planning to rob their parents and run away to California together. Both sets of parents saw red flags immediately. Their kids were changing, becoming secretive and aggressive. Eventually, they did what many parents would do. They forbade Sierra and Aaron from seeing each other. By December 2020, when Sierra turned 16, everyone thought the relationship drama was over. Daniel even wrote this heartbreaking birthday message to Sierra. "I dreamed a dream when I was 9 about having children, being a husband, and being the best dad I could be like my pa. Seeing you now brings me so much joy. I love you for eternity." Sierra's response to this love? She was already plotting his murder. On April 8th, 2021, Daniel suddenly went silent. No posts, no calls, nothing. When family members tried to reach him, Sierra kept saying he was in the shower or that his phone was broken. But Daniel was never offline this long. He was known for being super active on social media. His own mother knew something was terribly wrong.
Can I help you?
Yeah, hi, I need a welfare check. I don't know if
On who are we doing a welfare check?
for my son. He's been missing for 2 days. His work's called, his family's called, I've called, his ex-wife's called. And there's nobody answering the phone, and there's nothing.
When Daniel's landlords finally checked the house, what they found was the stuff of nightmares. In the garage, stuffed inside a sleeping bag, was Daniel's body. He had been stabbed dozens of times. Then his body was mutilated and burned in an attempt to hide the evidence.
911 emergency, Guerrero 16497. Do you need police, fire, or medical?
I hear a dead body. Oh my God, 8417 Dempsey Court.
The investigation revealed the horrifying truth. Security footage showed Sierra and Aaron shopping for murder supplies like it was just another day at the mall. Aaron bought a saw, gloves, and lighter fluid. Sierra casually picked up bleach, using her dad's credit card to pay for it, a dad who was probably already dead by then. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. After fleeing to Salt Lake City, Sierra and Aaron recorded what they thought would be a cute YouTube video. 3 days after the murder, they were giggling on camera.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
murdering, day 3 after murdering somebody.
Wow! Don't put that on the camera.
It was worth it.
And we had sex a lot today.
They were acting like they'd just pulled off some minor prank, not murdered Sierra's father in cold blood. Daniel's autopsy revealed 70 injuries, many of which happened after he'd already given his last breath. This was a frenzied attack at the hands of someone he loved and protected. This is the sad reality of psychopathic killers. They don't care about others' emotions or about causing pain, destruction, and misery. They see other people as objects that stand in their way and do whatever it takes to eliminate hurdles that bother them. For Sierra, her dad was just a hurdle in the way of her teenage fling. When they were finally arrested, Their young love story quickly fell apart. In May 2022, they both took plea deals, getting life sentences with the possibility of parole after 22 years. But while Aaron at least tried to show some remorse, apologizing to Daniel's family in court, Sierra did something that shocked everyone. She tried to blame her dad, suddenly claiming he had been abusive, claims that contradicted years of social media posts, family testimonies, and her own recorded behavior after the murder. The tragedy of this case hit hardest for Daniel's mother, Christine. Imagine having to face your granddaughter in court, knowing she killed your son, and is still refusing to take any responsibility for it.
Where did the evil come that was bred into a soul that murders their own father?
When a reporter later asked Christine about the difficulty of having both a murdered son and a granddaughter killer, her response was ice cold, but understandable.
You're in a tough spot because your son is the victim and the killer is your granddaughter. Can you talk about that?
She's not my granddaughter.
The most chilling part? Sierra and Aaron were sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after just 22 years. They might walk free in their early 40s, with half their lives still ahead of them. And while Aaron has shown signs of understanding the gravity of what he did, Sierra's complete lack of remorse for killing the father who adored her suggests something far more disturbing. How does a daughter go from making happy dance videos with her dad to burning his mutilated body in their garage, all because she couldn't date the boy she wanted? It's a question that haunts everyone involved in this case to this day. This isn't just another true crime story. It's a warning about how quickly love can turn into something deadly, and how the people closest to us might be capable of unimaginable evil. Johnny Ryder and Cassandra Borge. Sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding under your bed, they're sitting at your dinner table. This is the story of Cassandra Borge, a teenager who murdered her grandparents who had taken her in, then threw a party in their house, while their bodies lay upstairs. By age 16, Cassandra was already well known to the police. Her rap sheet read like a rebellious teen's greatest hits: underage drinking, smoking weed, shoplifting, assault. When her parents couldn't handle her anymore, her grandparents, Wendy and Randall, stepped up to help. They really thought they could turn their granddaughter's life around. Spoiler alert, their kindness would cost them their lives. Living with Cassandra was like having a tornado in your house. In just 1 year, the police were called to Wendy and Randall's home over 30 times. Once, Cassandra even threw a glass bottle at her grandmother. But instead of pressing charges, Wendy would try to calmly explain to officers what happened. Enter Johnny Ryder, Cassandra's 19-year-old boyfriend. They'd only been dating for 3 months, but that was enough time to plan something horrific. Johnny asked Cassandra a question that would change everything. Would you kill your grandparents? Most people would be horrified. Cassandra? She hesitated for a minute.
And he asked me, he was like, would you kill your grandparents? And I kind of hesitated for a minute. And I was like, why?
On April 1st, 2017, Wendy posted on Facebook asking for help finding Cassandra. She'd run away again. That night, Wendy sent her last text ever to Cassandra's mom. I'm going to bed soon. Maybe tomorrow will be better. She had no idea what better would look like for her granddaughter. A few days later, Cassandra's mom, Amanda, requested a welfare check on her parents. They'd gone AWOL, and it was not like them at all. 2 days in a row, authorities knocked on their door to no avail. On April 8th, however, someone called to report an assault just a few doors down. The two perpetrators were quickly identified as Cassandra and Johnny. They had broken into the home of Johnny's sister and her boyfriend and ransacked it while they were at work. When the couple returned home, Cassandra and Johnny were sitting on their bed proud of themselves, and when they confronted the brats, they proceeded to attack them violently. Cassandra even used a baseball bat on Johnny's sister. They left in Johnny's sister's car, but left another car at the scene, Wendy and Randall's. When authorities were called to this house, they finally put 2 and 2 together. The couple was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and the authorities went to Wendy and Randall's home. A week after the slayings, police found Wendy and Randall's bodies in their bedroom. They'd been beaten with hammers and stabbed repeatedly. But what happened next is what makes this case especially disturbing. Instead of running away, Cassandra and Johnny stayed in the house. They slept there, just feet away from her grandparents' bodies. They took money from Wendy's safe and went shopping. And then, this is real, Cassandra threw a drug-fueled party in the house while her grandparents' bodies were still upstairs. When police finally caught up with them, Cassandra and Johnny had barricaded themselves in an apartment bathroom, trying to unalive themselves rather than face justice. They failed at that too. A SWAT team pulled them out and dragged them to the hospital, as they were charged with double homicide and almost unaliving Johnny's family too. During interrogation, Cassandra acted like she was chatting with friends at lunch. When she described the murders, she showed zero emotion. Her motive?
And he understands that, all I really wanted to do was just kind of get away from everything, kind of just move on with myself. Like, I wasn't having a good relationship with my grandparents. Like, it started getting really bad, you know, like, I got a charge from them because, you know, like, I fought them, you know.
So get a job and move out. The only thing that bothered her, that her grandmother had soiled herself during the attack.
And then, Johnny, her throat too. It was kind of creepy because she was, like, scared to die. Like, she shit herself and peed herself.
How did she?
It was kind of gross.
But here's the kicker. This wasn't even their endgame. Cassandra and Johnny had planned to kill their entire families.
So the reason why we stayed in town was because the plan was we were going to get both of our families. That's why...
Oh, what?
Why? Because they wanted to be Bonnie and Clyde. When asked about possibly killing her mom, Cassandra simply said, "I wanted to." Her reason for all this? "I was so tired of dealing with my family." That's it. No tragic backstory, no abuse, no trauma, just a teenager who didn't want to follow rules. You might think this is where Johnny and Cassandra's twisted love story stays strong, but nope. Like most killer couples, they immediately turned on each other. Johnny claimed Cassandra was the mastermind. Cassandra blamed everything on Johnny. Real couple goals, right? The judge wasn't having any of it. I'm not sure I've ever imagined such a well-planned, despicable, heinous act to be committed by two such young people. The heartless and depraved nature of what the two of you did tells me it's not worth my time. Both Cassandra and Johnny got life sentences with the possibility of parole after 60 years. Cassandra's mom, Amanda, lost both her parents and her daughter in one night.
Not in a million years did I ever think something like this would ever happen.
How do you process your teenage daughter murdering your parents and then partying next to their bodies? The scariest part of this story isn't the brutal murders, or even the party afterward. It's that Cassandra showed no signs of remorse or trauma that might explain her actions. She wasn't abused. She wasn't neglected. She had grandparents who loved her enough to take her in when everyone else had given up. And she killed them because they tried to give her rules and structure. By the time Cassandra and Johnny are eligible for parole, they'll be in their 80s. For now, they sit in separate prisons, probably wondering if those 3 months of toxic teenage love were worth spending the rest of their lives behind bars. This story is a warning about how entitlement and defiance can spiral into something monstrous, and how sometimes the people we try hardest to save are the ones who destroy us. Suzanne von Richthofen and Daniel Kravinhos. Imagine having everything, literally everything. We're talking a mansion with a pool, rich parents who adore you, the best education money can buy, and a casual $17 million inheritance waiting for you. Now imagine killing your parents because they didn't like your boyfriend. Welcome to the deranged world of Suzanne von Richthofen. The von Richthofens were living their best life in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They had 2 kids, Suzanne, born in 1983, and her younger brother, Andreas. On paper, Suzanne was the definition of privilege. She spoke 3 languages, went to elite schools, and was studying law at one of Brazil's top universities. Oh, and did I mention the secret Swiss bank account in her name with another casual $10 million? Yeah, this girl had it made. But everything changed when Andreas met a 19-year-old guy named Daniel at a model airplane fair. Daniel started coming over to teach Andreas about model planes, but he had his eyes on something else, Suzanne. They started dating, and that's when things got messy. See, Daniel wasn't exactly what you'd call boyfriend material. He was a high school dropout who spent most of his time smoking weed and lying about being a law student to impress Suzanne's family. When Manfred and Marisha found out the truth, they weren't exactly thrilled about their millionaire daughter dating a guy whose life goals included, well, nothing. But instead of breaking up or, getting a job, Daniel had a better idea. Why not just kill Suzanne's parents and take their money? And Suzanne, showing all the emotional depth of a puddle, was like, sure, why not? The plan went down on November 1st, 2002. While Andreas was at a party, Suzanne let Daniel and his brother Christian into the house, disabling the alarm herself. Then, and this is where it gets really messed up, she sat downstairs on the family sofa while Daniel and Christian went upstairs and murdered her parents in their sleep. After the murders, Suzanne and Daniel didn't run away in horror or break down crying. Nope, they went to a hotel to have sex. Let that sink in. Then, they returned to the Richthofen home and acted as though they'd just discovered Suzanne's parents' lifeless bodies. They called 911 and acted distressed, but Suzanne didn't manage to keep up the act for too long. At her parents' funeral, while everyone else was grieving, she showed up in party clothes like it was a night out. Even the detectives were like, seriously? Manfred and Mauricia were laid to rest around Suzanne's birthday. But while most people were dressed soberly and crying, Suzanne turned up in a sexy outfit. Still, she wanted all the attention. Meanwhile, her brother was in and out of panic attacks for weeks. The killers might have gotten away with it if Christian hadn't decided to buy an expensive motorcycle with cash right after the murders. When questioned, Christian spilled everything about their master plan to live off Suzanne's inheritance. Here's where these ride-or-die lovers showed their true colors. As soon as they were arrested, Suzanne and Daniel turned on each other faster than expired milk. So much for undying love. But jokes aside, it's truly tragic that these teen couples would use love as the motive for their unspeakable acts, then forget about it the second they're in handcuffs. Suzanne spent 4 years before her trial doing interviews, fake crying on camera and blaming everything on Daniel. It was so fake, her lawyer was literally caught on tape coaching her to cry.
Que falar do ex-namorado Daniel Cravinhos e como se comportar diante da câmera.
In 2006, justice finally caught up with them. Suzanne and Daniel got 40 years each, while Christian got 38 years. But the real victim here isn't just Manfred and Mauricia, it's Andreas, Suzanne's brother. The poor guy never recovered from his sister's betrayal. In 2017, he was found breaking into someone's house, saying he had no reason to live anymore. The scariest part? Suzanne never showed real remorse. She kept appealing her sentence, claiming she had personality disorders that made her do it, because apparently being a spoiled, entitled brat who kills her parents for money counts as a disorder now. In 2024, Andreas spoke to the media for the first time and said his sister is still refusing to resolve financial matters with him. We have pending matters. She should contact me because we have issues to discuss. She has her money too, right? We need to see what will be divided from what was left behind. She has her resources, and only justice will tell. She isn't showing her brother even the ounce of empathy she could after what she did. This is what happens when privilege meets pure evil. Suzanne had everything most people dream of, but it wasn't enough. She chose a worthless boyfriend over her loving family, money over morality, and herself over everyone else. And for what? To end up in prison, abandoned by the same boyfriend she killed for, while her brother's life was destroyed forever. Thanks for watching, you guys. What are your thoughts on these cases? Let me know what you think in a comment down below. And before you go, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. See you next time and keep yourself safe.